Hi guys, now I'm going to go over how to solve the 3.0 problem. So we're going to do these very similarly to what we did with the 2.0s. So we're going to follow the same strategies. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to write my D equals M, or D equals my M equals and my V equals. So I'm going to put that right up here. So density equals mass equals volume equals. So we need to read the problem and figure out what those are. So it says, what is the mass of 500 milliliters of maple syrup if its density is 1.37 grams per milliliter? So the first question says, what is? So what is a context clue as to what is going to be our question mark. So it says, what is the mass? So our question mark in this problem is our mass. So all of our 2.0 problems, the question marks were always density. Now we're going to solve for things like mass and volume. And then it says 500 milliliters of maple syrup. So milliliters, that means volume. So our volume is 500 milliliters. And then it tells us that the density of maple syrup is 1.37 grams per milliliter. So I'm going to show you a pretty neat trick that's going to allow you to do these problems without having to use algebra. We're going to use our unit conversion trick of times in a line. So I've got 500 milliliters and I want to convert that to mass. So I have 500 milliliters. What I'm going to do is times in a line, okay? And just like we've done with any other unit conversion, whatever we want to get rid of, we're going to put on the bottom. So I want to get rid of milliliters. I'm going to put that on the bottom. And I want to find my mass. And my mass is going to be in grams. So I'm going to put grams on top, just like that. And so if I take a look, my density, what that really means when I have 1.37 grams per milliliter, what that really means, the translation of it, is that our density, 1.37 grams, is equal to 1 milliliter. So when we look at this density, what that really means is 1.37 grams is equal to 1 milliliter. Every milliliter we have is equal to 1.37 grams. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to use this, right? We set up our unit conversion, our times in a line. So to get rid of milliliters, milliliters is on bottom, grams is on top. So now we're going to take that density, and what that means is 1.37 grams is equal to 1 milliliter. So every 1 milliliter is how many grams. So now it's just a matter of putting this into a calculator. Okay? So we type it in just as it's written. Think about this as having parentheses around it. So 500 times 1.37 divided by 1 is how we enter that into our calculator. So what I'm going to do is 500 times 1.37 divided by 1 equals 685 milliliters. So that's half a liter of maple syrup, a little over half a liter. So we have 685 milliliters of maple syrup is my final answer. Okay, so we're going to do another problems. Have to do with milk and toothpaste. So let's do our milk problem first. Again, we're going to write down what we're given. So I'm going to write my D equals, my M equals, and my V equals. So I'm going to write those down right there. So I'm going to read my problem. It says, what would be the volume? So what would be the volume? So that's telling us what our question mark is. So what would? So we're looking for volume in this particular problem. So I'm going to put a question mark next to my volume. That's what I'm looking for. So hopefully it gives me mass and density. So let's keep reading. Millimeters of 750 grams. So grams means mass. Anytime you see grams, that's an M. So I'm going to put 750 grams for my mass. And then it says if the density of milk is 1.033 grams per milliliter. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to set up my ratio. I'm going to do this like a unit conversion. So I'm going to start with my 750 grams I'm going to do times in the line. So I want grams to go away, and I want to get to milliliters. I want my volume. So if I want grams to go away, I'm going to put grams on the bottom, and I want to get to milliliters, so I'm going to put milliliters on top. So now I'm going to look at my density. And what my density is saying is 1.033 grams is equal to 1 milliliter. So I'm going to write the number 1. So 1 milliliter, and then I'm going to look at how many grams. So 1.033 grams. So I'm going to put that 1.033 next to grams. So this is my density. Do you guys see that? Grams. So 1 milliliter over this many grams. So now all it's a matter of doing is putting it into our calculator. So 750 times 1 divided by 1.033. Okay? So we're going to type that into our calculator. So again, we're going to do 750 times 1 divided by 1.033. So let's see if you can see that on my calculator. It's a little blurry, but you should be able to see it, okay? There you go. So when I put that in the calculator, what I end up getting is 726, and then our grams have canceled, so we're left with milliliters. So my final answer is 726 milliliters. So now I'm going to do my last problem here. So example problem number 3 for my 3.0s. This one we're going to have to do some unit converting. So I'm going to read through my problem, but first I'm going to do my D equals, my N equals, and my B equals, and I'm going to figure out what each of those things are. So it says, what would be the density of toothpaste? So my what would be density. So density is my question mark. So kind of like what we had with our 2.0s. We're going to have to do some unit conversions before we can actually do this calculation. So it says, what would be the density of toothpaste if 170.5 milliliters, so milliliters is a volume. So we're going to take 170.5 milliliters, that's my volume. And the toothpaste has a mass of 0.5 pounds. Okay. So what we would want to do is we want to make sure our density is going to be in grams per milliliter. So we've got milliliters for our volume, but we're going to have to do some unit conversion for my pounds. So I'm going to have to do a little bit of unit converting to go from pounds to grams. So to make that happen, before I even do any density work, I'm going to take my 0.5 pounds, and I will need to convert it into grams. So that's going to take some unit conversion. So I'm going to do my times in a line. So luckily I have these equivalent statements up here, and I want to get rid of pounds, and it doesn't have anything that it's going to get me directly to grams, but I can do it in 2 steps. So I'm going to put pounds on the bottom to get rid of pounds, and I can go from pounds to kilograms. So I'm going to put kilograms on top. When I do that, my pounds, it says 2.2 pounds is equal to 1 kilogram. So that takes care of my first step. I'm going to be able to go from pounds to kilograms. So now I need to do another step. So that's going to give me 0.5 times 1 divided by 2.2 is how I entered this in the calculator. So 0.5 times 1 divided by 2.2, and that's going to give me 0.227, but that's kilograms, and I need grams, so I'm going to do times in the line again. So this time I want to get rid of my kilograms, so kilograms is going to go on the bottom, and I'm trying to get to grams, so I'm going to put that on top. So then my 1 kilogram is equal to 1,000 grams, and just like that. So I'm going to take my answer, and then I'm going to do times 1,000 divided by 1. So I'm going to take this 0.227 times 1,000 divided by 1, and what I get from that is 227 grams. So now I've got my mass is equal to 227 grams. So I have my grams, I have my milliliters. Now I'm set up and ready to do my density calculation. So density is equal to my mass. So my mass is 227 grams divided by my milliliters, which is 170.5 milliliters. And when I put that into my calculator, so 227 divided by 170.5, I get a big long answer, 1.331378299. Of course, I don't want to write all of that down, so I'm going to go back to my problem. And it actually shows me only one significant figure right here. The leading zero doesn't count, so just that 5 is one significant figure. So if we round this, my answer really is 1 for my density. So 1 gram, so gram divided by milliliter. Okay. If you had 1.3 or 1.33, we're good, as long as you're within one significant figure. But that's going to be our final answer. All right, so those are our 3.0 practice, or sorry, not practice, but our example problems. So those are examples 1, 2, and 3. That's on your page 23, which I believe is slide number 13, if you have all of the slides in the notebook.